my gosh, everybody's on such good manners. You're so quiet. I feel like I have to fill the void here. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I'm really excited about this one for a lot of different reasons. But also thank you, first of all, the SMU IT Santa Claus that came and just fixed all this stuff. It just all these microphone presents showed up and the AV works. Great, perfect. It's a good start, right? Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. LTK is here to give us a sneak peek on a report they just released about the impact of social media on e-commerce in conjunction with Northwest University. Is that correct? Okay, so more of that to come. Let's see here. See if we can get this thing started. So number one, just thanks to a few of our sponsors. REA Commerce, agency focused on fixing issues impeding direct-to-consumer growth and profitability. I think I already said thank you to SMU, but thank you again, SMU, for hosting us. LTK, if you don't know, formerly known as Like to Know, is a social commerce platform that helps direct-to-consumer brands drive sales through influencer partnerships. And Social.Plus, we have visitors here today that came all the way in from Mexico City to be with us today. Thank you, Avi. They offer plug-and-play social and community infrastructure, powering brands to own their own social experiences. So before we get to that, I did want to mention, before we get too carried away and before everybody's ready to hit the road, next month is going to be a really good one. I'm really excited about this one also for a number of different reasons. On November 19th, we have an event called Retailtainment, why your store needs to feel more like fun. And we'll bring in Katie Crenshaw from Austin, not quite as far as Mexico City, but thereabouts. She is the experiential marketing director for Still Austin Whiskey. She's formerly with Yeti. She was the experiential marketing manager for Yeti, and she helped roll out a number of their stores, including their marquee store or the signature store in Austin, Texas, here to talk to us about retailtainment and experiential marketing. And then just FYI, so you watch your emails and pay attention to the details because we may move the location. We're looking at a couple different venues that will be announced here shortly in the next couple days. So we're looking to kind of shake it up a little bit, see if we can pull some people out of the woodwork, and excited to try something a little bit different next time. So be on the lookout for that. And we may or may not, hopefully we're trying to add a small little whiskey tasting since Still, that's appropriate, right? Little whiskey tasting as part of the event. So that's in the works. I heard some rumors being spread about that being in the works. So that's coming. The rest of the year is also looking pretty solid. We have an event coming up about loyalty with Jen McMillan from Nothing But Cakes, Innovation Playbook from Sinbei Cole at 7-Eleven. We're getting into some retail crime stuff with Steve Sell with Vera Insights, and a new event that will be added to the calendar we'll have a host from Steve Provo, the former CMO of Chili's and the CEO of Maggiano's. Thank you to our introduction from Dylan Taylor-Smith. Thanks for getting us reconnected. Thank you, Dylan. So really excited about that one, about loyalty and restaurant marketing and the ROI of loyalty marketing. We'll also look to add a few other networking and educational events throughout the year, including if we are able to get into today's pretty high level and but we're looking at adding some webinars, potentially go into a little bit more of the weeds of how some of these brands actually solve some problems and even look at some of the tools that were used to solve some of these problems. So be on the lookout for that. So without further ado, tonight we're talking about the modern checkout funnel and specifically how social commerce impacts marketers using influencers and platforms to increase their reach and keep customers engaged and coming back. Avi, we'll get to you. We'll give you a due introduction here shortly. And we have CJ Burns, also from LTK, the Director of Product Management, who's also just, by the way, the president of Product Camp Dallas. And then, Allie Anderson, Senior Director of Strategy and Insights at LTK, will help kind of walk us through this report, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
All right, and I feel very like Bob Barker-ish with this thing, but you'll just grab a mic. Let me help you get this thing fired up. I think it's as simple as that. Yeah,
Is
SMU.
this the forward button?
That's the forward button. You're going down in the slides.
Okay, perfect.
Cool. Yeah, you can go past that and keep going. That's you guys.
All right. Do you want me to keep
I
going?
think I was supposed to land on those slides while I was talking about you, but I didn't do it. That's the first element.
All right, hey, we'll put that on your performance review.
All right. I deserve it.
Okay, kicking us off here. It feels weird to be at SMU presenting a Northwestern University deck, but here we are. So I'm Allie Anderson. I've been at LTK for 12 years. LTK is a three-sided marketplace. We sit at the intersection of consumers. So if you've ever found yourself scrolling on TikTok, buying something, you've probably been one of those 40 million consumers that we have every single month. I personally partner with our brands. So brands are that second side of the marketplace. They've invested nearly $6 billion in marketing spend on our platform. And then the creators, of course, you can't have content. We can't be talking about how we've disrupted social commerce without the art, which is the creator content. So we have nearly 400,000 creators spanning industries, focusing on everything from electronics to food and bev, which is a really quickly growing category for us. And of course, the bread and butter where influencer marketing started, fashion and beauty. So today I'm going to share, there's a ton of data here. It's really just level setting. Why is this industry, I'd say it's exploded. It's exploded since the COVID years, 2020 hit. Everyone was shopping at home from their sofas and their sweatpants with their work tops on the top, sweatpants on the bottom. But here we are a few years later, and it is still exploding in growth. So if you sit in the retail landscape or any landscape, this is a reality you're not going to be able to avoid. So today I'm going to walk you through just a lot of data from our partners at Northwestern University. And this is our third annual study, so we have a great understanding of growth and changes and ebbs and flows year over year. But before I kick off to the data, just a shout out in a moment, CJ is going to be walking you through one of our latest products, Brand Profiles. There's a QR code here to learn more. We're currently inviting different brands and retailers to sign up to have access to a new product.
So if you're an e-com retailer of any kind, a phone, you might want to grab that.
Yep. Lots and lots of content. So think of creator content all aggregated into one place where 40 million people are already spending their time. Oh, sorry, let me go back.
Yeah, let's flip that back up for a second.
And it's also there at the end as well. Amazing. Okay, so jumping into the study. So every year we partner with Northwestern, their Retail Analytics Council. So they're the experts in conducting these studies. This year we talked to 204 different retailers and brands in the US. We conducted this in July. 87% were ultimate decision makers. So think CMOs. Participants really represent spanning all industries and all sizes of revenue, but the majority were over 100 million in revenue. And it is worth noting, every single brand that we talked to has partnered with creators in the last year. So with that, when we talk about creator marketing, this is just a great level setting stat. Why does it matter? Well, 90% of brands are now using creator marketing. It is the standard. It is absolutely now the norm. And really what I'm about to show you is how creators, it's expanding to different departments. So what historically maybe was a PR play, let's send some PR boxes of our product, it is completely transformed. Like I said, LTK works with billions of dollars of this marketing spend every single year. And so it's completely infiltrating the industry. Why is that? This is a stat that we watch really, really closely here. It's because of the trust of consumers. So I think of when I grew up, I'd get, the magazine that was published. You'd have a winter line released and you'd look at the magazine, and that was really where you were consuming that content. You had that innate trust there. Well, that has completely changed, and consumers now rely on creators for their source to understand, hey, what should I be purchasing? What should I be inspired by? They're really connecting that inspiration, and their wallets show that. So we ask, hey, who do you trust the most? Do you trust celebrities? Do you trust social media ads? Do you trust creators? Who do you trust the most? And every single time in every single study we've ever done, creators is ranked number one. So with that, it is no surprise to see creator is the number one place CMOs are investing more. So one of the questions in our study said, hey, where are you spending more money? You can see all the different results here. And creator has bubbled to the top. 97% of creator marketers say that creator will take more budget or an increased role in their marketing this upcoming year. And just as a reminder, we're happy to share this deck. We can actually slice this by industries. So if you're in restaurant, we can slice it to restaurant. If you're in fashion, we can slice it to fashion. If you're in commerce or retail, we can slice it to that as well. So all different slices available. This is just the broad data. So with that, we asked, and this is a new question. So we actually don't have the data from previous years, but this was a new question we added this year. We've seen what we saw last year was the expansion between marketing departments. So we saw creator not just sitting within one team, but multiple different teams. And it's become increasingly more complex to manage. And the reason it's become more complex to manage is because it spans so many different departments. And these brands are working with upwards, you can see on this side, of 250 creators at a given time. That's a lot of people, because at the end of the day, creators are people. You're not managing a flat lay banner ad. You are managing a person. And so it's become a much more complex industry to manage, and we'll get into kind of ways LTK is addressing that management here in a little bit through a couple demos. But 65% of CMOs work with over 50 creators at a given time. 40% of CMOs have worked with more than 100 creators at a given time. So this really shifts, is a signal that the industry is shifting, and it's really shifted to an always-on strategy. So creators aren't just promoting that one and done launch. They're talking about your brand in an evergreen way, because the reality is most people are on social, and most people are interacting with creators on a daily basis. And really, this is always one of the more interesting ones to me, because this shows who is working with creators. And what we're seeing is that creators are being used across multiple departments. I think on average, we're seeing roughly 3 departments within a given org are working with creators. And you can see here, marketing services is there at the top. 77% work with creators in that division. Of course, social, brand, media, shopper marketing, PR, and affiliate. So those are the departments that typically touch and interact with creator in some regard. So if you sit in one of those, I'm happy to have a conversation about like best practices, how you should think about measurement within your particular function. But like I mentioned earlier, there's friction now because there's so many different teams and departments working with hundreds of creators at a given time. So, which leads us to our next point. If you haven't heard of boosting on social media, it's a really, really important piece of social evolution and a social strategy. So think of when you're looking at content, you can pay to have it surface to right audiences. At the end of the day, that's what everyone in this room, regardless of your industry, where you sit within your organization, you're truly just trying to reach an audience to sell your product, to market your product. And so social boosting is absolutely a necessity. We see that of the companies we surveyed, 92% use creator content within those ads, and roughly 20% of that creator budget goes towards a boosting strategy. So we're at LTK, I work with brands all the time to create essentially media plans that will be really impactful and to get you the most bang for your buck. So a good takeaway from this is just boost content, or even if it's not creator, you should be boosting whatever content is out there. And roughly at LTK, we see with our study and also our best practices that we do for all our partners is roughly 20%. We see content boosted the most across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat. And then if you're not familiar with retail media networks, don't get CJ and I started because that could be a whole presentation in itself. But they are a massive flywheel now for the industry. I talk to these retail media networks every single day, but they're essentially in-house media teams at companies like a Walmart or a Target, but they function to take a brand and essentially extend that brand where consumers are shopping. So of course, consumers are shopping maybe direct on your website, but they're also shopping at Target pickup. And they're being influenced in multiple different ways. So it's become increasingly more complex if you are a marketer sitting at these brands, because you now have retail media networks in the mix. Retail media networks, when we think about just where they're placing their gamble, so where are they placing their bets as they expand these media networks, we actually see that creator has jumped from number 3 to number 2 this year. So this is looking at just planned investment. So where are these retail media networks thinking of putting their budgets to grow essentially their marketing teams, their sales teams, to essentially absorb those dollars from the brands that they partner with? Creators number 2. So we have tons of partnerships. The first one that comes to mind is Roundel. If you go to Roundel, which is Target Media Group's website, they have a whole section, Influencers by Roundel, and LTK partners that. So that's just a great example. You can click around there and see different ways that Roundel has marketed their products. And these are essentially services that all the brands, if you scroll the arrows of Target, that you can also purchase. They purchase through Roundel, and Roundel promotes them. And so jumping back now to social. So all of this comes together, and what we're really seeing is creator is expanding beyond just social media. So I was at VidCon earlier this summer, and then some of our team was at Cannes in France earlier this summer, and really our big takeaway was, oh my goodness, creator is about to be on all of our TVs. If you haven't already seen it, it's happening right now. Creator is expanding to the big screens. It's expanding beyond just the small screen on your phone. It's expanding to in-store, but we're seeing that brands and retailers are using creator on at least one of these channels listed here outside of social media. So the most common are display advertising, content marketing, UGC. So the brand profiles that we shared earlier, that's a great play on UGC. It's taking that content and resurfacing it on owned and operated channels, through affiliate marketing, and of course on TV through connected TV. Hyper targeted. And then the most important impact creators deliver. So when we asked the CMOs in the study, so the 200 CMOs that we surveyed, what do creators, how do they help your brand? Why would you keep working with them? You can see here, I guess the font's kind of little with the percent change year over year, but increasing awareness, it's grown. Improving brand sentiment and perception, increasing sales, reaching new audiences. I won't read them all, but you can see these completely span the marketing funnel. And just seeing those shifts over time as the industry continues to grow is something to pay attention to. I was surprised personally to see the informing product design. That is something brands are doing. We talk to brands all the time about, hey, what do creators say? We've actually set up meetings with some of these companies to have product lines designed. So it's something that is happening in the industry, and it is growing. And then metrics, at the end of the day, you can't just, I wish we could just spend money and not report on it, but you unfortunately have to report on everything that you do. So these are some of the metrics that you can see important for creator. And on average, we see roughly 4 metrics, and that I think correlates directly to what team you're on. So if you're working with creator across multiple different departments, essentially, how are you measuring this? Awareness, brand sentiment, sales, engagement rate, audience growth. So really full funnel. I won't read the whole list here, but you can get a sense. It truly is full funnel, and there's ways to structure it so it all works together cross-functionally. And lastly, goals. So it's really important when you sit down to work with creators that you're very clear about what's your goal, what outcome do you want. Of course, sales. I think last year sales was quite a bit further down the list, and I think it's a symptom of this year. Everyone is just pushing for sales for some reason. But no, creators really can again, the goals span the full funnel. At the end of the day, the brands that win in the creator space, there's always on strategies, and they're thinking bigger picture. If you're just focused on pushing a product, that's not going to be authentic. It's not going to work. sales comes over time, and it's absolutely a long game. And then this correlates too. So when we look at the types of creators, there is pretty much anyone at this point could be a creator. But what is a creator? To me, a creator is someone who has a loyal and engaged community. So they're not just influencing you to do something. You're in their community. You know them by name. And so when you think of how you're going to set up your creator program, lifestyle creators takes the cake. And I think, again, lifestyle creators correlates one-to-one to those driving sales because they have a community who's bought into their storytelling lifestyle. But we also have at LTK, we work with brands all the time, dermatologists, travel influencers, ambassadors is a big one that actually grew year over year. Celebrities, I think Summer House, any Bravo fans out there, we see those celebrity creators really uptick right before the season releases. So that's a really smart strategy to build into your program. Generational, certified experts, super fans, and of course athletes. Those are all creators, and they're all people who are interacting with them within their communities. The last this is a little tactical, but I share this because a lot of brands are kind of stumped. How do you work with creators in an authentic way? And this is just really putting data to how you should be partnering with them. Our best practice and what we always recommend is giving guardrails. So think of bowling with the guardrails up. You want them to represent your brand, but you want them to do it in their way. So there's you can create a safety net to make sure that they're representing you, following brand safety standards. So tons of best practices here. We've worked with some of the most brand sensitive and brand tight companies. There's ways to brief and inform and educate creators on your guidance. What we do not recommend is having them say, like, it's this exact eyeshadow, it's this exact product, and this exact color. Being really authentic, again, plays into that trust and authenticity. So do not be overly prescriptive when you're working with them. They will turn down the campaign. So this is what I'm really excited about. And this was new data from this year. And CJ is about to come up and talk through a bit of a demo. But what we are seeing is a really big shift in the industry. So historically, most creator platforms have been self-service. So you log in, you're not totally sure what to do. Your boss told you have to work with creators, and here you are trying to figure this out. Where LTK has always been in this like managed service category. So it's companies come to us, they say, this is how we want to work with creators, but we don't know how to get there. And then we build that strategy. Really what we're seeing now, because of the expansion of creators between all those different departments, because the budgets are so massive now in this industry, is a hybrid model. So one where you can essentially choose your own path, choose your own adventure. This is the new way of the world. And so having a hybrid, a mix of something you can manage yourself, maybe for product seeding with your PR team, but also self-service. So having both components into one platform and one reporting system is really what we see the way of the future. So with that, I'm about to turn over to CJ to get to the good stuff, but just as a summary of everything I shared. So consumers trust creators more than ads and celebrities. If this isn't already a part of your marketing mix, it's essential to add in there today, tomorrow, when you get to work. Creator is the #1 growth and investment across all different marketing channels, and #2 in retail media networks. The third is CMOs are building creator armies. So having that always on strategy, not just that one and done moment. It's so much more than that now, because you're trying to connect with that audience. And audience is the reality. It's so much more fragmented now than it was even just a handful of years ago. So being where that audience is more important than ever before. And creators are a really efficient way to do that. And then creator content is used across display ads, UGC, CTV, boosting, and social media is now 20% of creator budgets. I could have probably a whole presentation on each one of those different best practices for each one of those different tactics there, everything from UGC to CTV. So if you have questions, happy to answer them. And then creator content is used across all different departments. So again, making it more complex than ever before. The greatest value creators deliver is awareness, sentiment, sales, really full funnel. So they can do it all. Lifestyle creators, that's the top kind of desired category. That doesn't surprise me given lifestyle creators are showing your whole life and they're the ones candidly driving the most sales. Briefing creators, but letting them do what they do, which is create and connect with communities. And then hybrid. So that's how most brands and retailers are working in the industry. So with that, I will hand the floor to CJ.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for that presentation. And I don't know about y'all, but to me, the data is the good stuff. So I'll try and do my best to follow that act. That being said, my name's CJ Burns, Director of Product and Growth. I've been over at LTK. I'm just a youngling compared to Allie at 10 years. So honestly, you got some kind of old in the tooth, got people here for us. But quick pop quiz question. True or false? Raise your hand if you believe true. And it'll say if you were listening or not. Do more than 40% of CMOs say they use more than 100 creators? True or false? True. Okay, we got some listeners here in the crowd. All right, so that's an important piece of what we're trying to show y'all here, is that the key is, how do you manage your creator army? How do you, in a single engagement, if you are working with 100 creators at once, how are you doing that at scale so you are not hating your life in spreadsheets the entire time and stuck in DMs? That's a problem we hear from so many brands at every level of the supply chain. And so LTK has the desire to solve that problem for you. And we do solve that problem for 5,000 brands in the community and a lot more retailers. So with that, we are actually offering an amazing new platform that is going to be launching here in November. If you're interested in it, please do let me know and we can talk about how to get you onboarded. But LTK's new brand platform is going to allow you to discover creators, access their content library, leverage that UGC we were just talking about, message creators, use gifts and codes, collaborate, and have that all-in-one reporting access that we are hearing from our brands consistently that they need. And that's the part that always gets me jazzed up. I'm just a data nerd at the heart. So with that, let me try. Let's see, does the button play the video? All right, yeah. All right, that's the moment, right? And so here's the homepage for our new product. We're going to show you here real quick. We're going into our creator search. From our creator search, we can easily take and we can find a cohort of creators. We have a series of 36 different filters and different searches that you can use using your brand's data to find the creators that you're looking for, as well as our LTK recommends algorithm. But you'll be able to add and curate these creators into lists. And so this is really important because everybody has their social marketing intern or their not intern that is really taking actions and taking a moment to curate before you take a step towards campaigns. Then we have a variety of different types of campaigns. We're going to show you all gifting here. And so you set up your campaign. We try and make this really simple. This is a low fidelity gifting campaign where we have an integration with your Shopify store. We pull in your Shopify product catalog. We allow you to select those products to be used for the brand in this campaign. And you can see what that offer is going to look like over there on the right. And so we're just walking you all through kind of the step-by-steps there. And then you can easily, here in the demo, we're going to just take that new list that we added. We're going to then view and we say, oh, we got all those creators now ready to send them an offer. And we are in business. The campaign is live. And that was a minute and a half, and you've activated a large cohort of creators, as many as your budget can stand. So I can't tell you how many conversations I've been in with brands that have complained about the problems with gifting and the fulfillment. And one of the things that's not really shown in that demo is just that connection with your backend so that the orders from those creators requesting their gifts that you pre-specified just automatically happens. That fulfillment just happens in real time. And so all your skin in the game there was the product that you gifted the creators that they're going to use to generate the content for you. Now, there's a good question to ask. So they've generated content. What am I going to do with that content? Well, that's where the brand profile comes in, which is our other big keynote feature that we're launching with CMP. And so you can see what some of the consumer experience looks like over here on the right, but we have another functionality inside my favorite new toy, is this top performing post. So these are all posts now about your brand, whether they were involved in campaigns or part of your organic activity, that you're going to be able to simply, with a few clicks, publish them to your brand profile. And then once that's published on your brand profile, you get a link where you can share and direct your community there so that you create another marketing channel. And so ultimately, one of the cool things about this is this gets you closer to our 40 million shoppers, puts you right there in the ecosystem, puts you right there in that space, and gives you an opportunity to share with shoppers, but not just them, creators, what content you believe is resonating and the closest aesthetic match to your brand. And so if you can't tell, I'm thrilled to be launching both of these things here in Q4. So it's been a very exciting and busy couple months for me, but so happy to share them with y'all today. If you have any questions about that demo, I'm more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, I think for the sake of time, here's our, anyone else still need this? No, yes? All right, cool, perfect. Then we'll go ahead and move on so that we get time for some of our panel questions. But again, thank you all for your time tonight.
Very cool. All right, thank you so much. So Avi, I think if you use a second to kind of go through and give some context here. So Avi looks at this from a little bit different perspective at Social.Plus, where we just learned about how a lot of stuff is used to generate awareness and push people through the funnel and generate sales. Avi comes at this, and Social.Plus comes at this from a slightly different angle with loyalty and engaging existing customers. So I'm going to let you kind of speak to that.
Okay.
And there's a clicker floating around here somewhere.
Yeah.
Cool. Let you take it.
There you go. That works.
There he is.
Okay.
I missed the slide again.
Hey guys. Yeah. No. Thanks for that, Bryce. And it's actually really cool because there's a lot of overlap I see between what we do, what LTK does. You guys are coming at it from, like Bryce mentioned, the awareness angle, the getting new people in angle, and a lot of focus on the creator part of it. What we kind of specialize in is looking at the actual infrastructure behind fueling all of these capabilities, right? But not from the perspective of having it active on traditional social media channels. Traditional social media channels in a sales funnel kind of touch the awareness part, right? And the first part of the funnel where you're bringing people in, acquiring them, and doing all of that. Where we choose to focus our energy is more on making sure we can increase customer lifetime value and making sure that we can maximize the amount of repeat purchases as well as increase the size of purchase that's happening from your users, right? And the easy way we do this is by actually helping brands launch, grow, and monetize their own communities in-app. So what this means, because it can be kind of complex, is essentially imagine any of the features you have on Facebook, any of the capabilities you have on Instagram, on TikTok, whether it be short form video, live streaming, discussion groups, one-on-one chat, but bringing that power to your own platform, right? Whether it's your own website, your own app, and actually enabling people to communicate there and people to interact there. It does a few things, right? Of course, it unlocks engagement and retention, right? Because users are spending more time on your platform, users are actually interacting, whether it's with each other or with you as the brand or your brand partners on your own platform. But indirectly, it's also giving you a lot more first-party data from your users, specifically from their own posts, their own comments, etc., where you own that data. And so you get a lot more hyper targeted information in order for you to actually target people on a very micro level, right? And so it lets you understand what the value proposition for each specific user is, and then accordingly push campaigns to them when you believe it's the right moment. And it's, let's say our system is signaling to you that, hey, these 150 people are in a perfect place for this product that you want to advertise right now. This is the campaign you should push, right? And so it's creating a space for organic interaction between users, but also enabling brands and brand partners to leverage that space and the data that you're getting from that space in order to maximize the revenue potential you can get from there. If I break it down, though, at the end of the day, this is what it kind of breaks down into, right? It's introducing profiles and forums, introducing feeds, introducing chat or live chat, introducing some sort of short form video, whether it be reels or stories, etc., or live streaming and live commerce directly, right? And these are the sort of interactive features that we help to bring to your own platform in order to make sure that you can maximize not just user interactions, but the amount of information you're getting from them and the amount that you're able to sell to them at the end of the day. Basically helping you do all three stages of this, right? When it's first party data, a lot of the times you don't own the data. Most of the times you're subscribing to third party data, or you're seeing what's happening from zero party data and people's interactions on your platform itself. But in this case, everything that's posted by a user is owned directly by you as the client, right? You don't have to go through a middleman of social media. You don't have to manually work your way through your Facebook group and keep track of how many people liked different posts and commented on different posts in order to track your user engagement. You're able to own it, understand it, take action on it directly, all three, through the same platform itself. So yeah, that's a little bit of background. An example of one of the communities we work with. I mean, Harley Davidson, as you guys know, is one of the oldest brand communities out there. This one was a particularly challenging one because their average user is a 55-year-old white male who is not very comfortable with getting on a digital app or platform, essentially.
Hey.
Most of the time. So it's an interesting give and take, right, of building the right use case for the users. And that's what we ended up doing here is we partnered with them to make sure that, hey, once you're finished taking a ride on your Harley, just like Strava, we're just going to pop up a map to you automatically of what your ride looks like. And we're going to prompt you, hey, add some pictures, tell people what your ride was about, etc. And then people are posting. And all of a sudden you see all of these people sharing pictures of their bike, sharing their trips, talking about it so much more, that now all of their individual dealerships are coming on board onto community. All of the events that they're organizing through their dealerships are happening through the community, right? And to the point of who's involved in the community, it's Harley as a brand, it's their local dealerships, it's the end users, it's any brand partners they have when it comes to them selling, different add-ons, etc. here and there. And it's a lot of creators. So we've started working with a lot of creators now, and across the company, across the board with all companies we work with. But Harley is a great example where there's particular people in each state that have a great sort of following around them, or they just have a good aesthetic, a killer aesthetic that people love. And so getting them onboarded on the platform and getting them active in the in-app community has been one of the biggest factors when it comes to us actually increasing adoption and use of in-app communities as well. But yeah, happy to share more if anyone has questions later. But I'm going to pass it on to Bryce for now.
Very good. So thank you so much, Ali. So you can hang on to that if you don't mind. Will you guys take a seat and grab a mic and be sure to power it on? This is a small enough room where people can probably hear you, but whatever. Let's go through the formalities. Got Bob Barker mic. I wish I could walk around with this thing, but it's tethered. It's got a string on it, like from the 1900s or something. Okay. So I was, it's funny. I was going to ask you all that tech jargon that us 50-year-old white guys don't understand. I was going to have you use the Harley Davidson example to explain it at us.
Yeah.
You already did it, so I can skip that question. Thank you, Avi. But another comment like that, I did invite you. I can uninvite you.
That is fair.
So you guys keep talking about data and all that stuff. You love data. Let's dig into that a little bit more. What are these platforms help us? And not just the platform, but just in general. How do we think about data? How does it affect these retailers' and brands' decisions? How do you track all this stuff? It's really interesting, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to report activity and it turned into something. Tell us about data. Talk to us more.
I'll start there. Some of this gets back to what Ali was saying. It does depend on a little bit what your goal is, but we like to assume, at least at LTK, that your goal is probably all of the top 5 goals at the same time. And so for us, it's about measuring your top of funnel value, which we define as earned media value, which is a fancy way of measuring your impressions and your engagement, both engagements in form of low fidelity and high fidelity engagements, putting that through a bit of an algorithm based on current market prices for those to then expand on, oh, okay, if you went to go pay for this kind of media, what would have the cost been of that? And so that's like point one in trying to help you understand just like that relative upper funnel. But then taking that impressions to conversions, to sales. And so with the technology that we have, that we integrate with our brand partners, we're able to tell the rest of the story all the way down to that checkout event. And so being able to say on a link, on a post, on a product, on a creator, what is the sales, what was the conversion, what were the average orders that were coming in, this really helps you pin the rest of the story together so that you can understand which creators, which content, which channels, and which products are resonating with that creator's community or resonating with the macro community that you have access to. And so we believe that that's kind of the first line of defense to understanding how you're using your investment wisely, and is really just critical to unpacking how you will continue to garner creators as part of your advertising campaigns. Do you want to add on to any of that, Allie?
That was really well said. I'd say for the brands, some of the brands with those creator armies, a process we have in place with a lot of them is we'll work with our brilliant analyst team, and we can essentially project out the performance, because at LTK we have, billions of data points that we're going off of. So we can essentially say, for your brand and your industry, this is the benchmark and here's how it's trending. And that's been really helpful as you're navigating kind of, I wouldn't say creators in newer industry, but a shakier industry when you compare it to traditional tactics in the past.
Awesome. I think fairly similar here. On one side, like, yes, the tracking is extremely important when it comes to impressions, clicks, conversion, actual sales, and basket closed. I think from our perspective, because we have the added benefit of actually implementing this community and getting the data from the community itself, we like to create it as a flywheel effect type of thing, where obviously all of these conversion analytics and sales are then helping us with the existing first party data that we already have in terms of what people's interests are, to actually even tailor the next campaigns based off of that. And so that feedback feeds directly into it. And it's something that my team very specifically works with our clients on, because each community implementation is different. Each organization's goals are different, right? Some people are boosting sales, some people are getting UGC, to your point, some people are getting awareness. And so when we work with them, we normally work with them on like a 2-week cycle where we have our broader strategy, but then these tactics are essentially what we're doing on a 2-week basis, and seeing what's the result of it, addressing it in our feedback loops, and then seeing, okay, how can we make this even better, make this even more efficient, get even more out of it, and kind of going down that line. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'll take a few questions. If anybody has any questions, give me just a second, Thomas. I will take them in a second. My questions go first. I'm just kidding. Maybe this is kind of a selfish question actually, but my business works with a lot of like smallish, emerging and mid-market companies. Seems really intimidating. Seems really expensive. But we have brands here and retailers that kind of range in size. How, is this attainable for mid-market companies? Tell us a little bit about like the sizes of companies you work with, the types of companies you work with, and how they benefit from these type of applications.
Yeah. It's essentially a formula based on your unique business. We can tell you of our recommended media plan with your leading with metrics. So no matter your company size, you have metrics. You have a boss to report to and metrics you have to deliver on. From there, we can back into essentially what our recommendation is in a media mix, and it's obtainable for anyone. With the release of our new brand platform, you could have $0. It's completely free. You can log into LTK's brand platform, completely free, seed that product, get creators talking about your brand, publish it to your brand profile. All of a sudden you have UGC that you can start to think about, okay, great. I see this UGC, my audience is interacting with it. And then from there, you can essentially set what's that formula. So I've worked with companies who've had no marketing spend all the way up to 7 figures in a given month marketing spend. So it's completely replicable across industry, across company size, especially within the growth of creator and the commerce industry just in general.
Yeah, and I guess the thing that I would double down on that is if you have a marketing budget, you can probably afford to work with creators. It just really, there's a question about how are you playing out your dynamics of margin? How are you thinking about what product you can gift? How are you thinking about how large of a cohort of creators you can interact with? Like, these are the questions you're going to have to ask yourself, because there is probably the cost that a smaller company is going to bear more is in time, just the time being costly to make sure that the content does match what your expectations are. That being said, I've seen some really effective companies come in and have $20,000 in a year that they spent with creators and be able to deliver a 5x return on ad spend. And so, I would really say, emphasize that a point about attainability. It's creator marketing is really meant for the masses.
Awesome. I'm sorry I can't sit here and tell you that it'll be free. But what I can tell you is first of all, creating a community around your brand, creating a community around your company is important. Whether that is a small size community, whether that's a free community, whether that's an in-app community, or it's somewhere outside, right? But building that awareness, building that sort of loyalty is important. We work with brands across all different sizes. Now, of course, primarily we work with brands north of spending around 50K a year type thing on this, right? But then again, I work with some like companies, for example, that work in the healthcare space, and they're an app with like 5,000 people, but and so they don't really spend that much. But what they do see is that with that 5,000 people, they have 4,700 of them coming back every single month and interacting with each other, right? So that engagement rate and that rate of return, that's fully dependent on the value proposition and on the industry and the use case you're implementing. But the need for a community isn't, right? So, I mean, even when I'm consulting, like oftentimes we consult with other companies that are not necessarily using our technology, right, and our software. And I will be completely frank with them, right? When you're just getting started, I start from a Discord community. I'll start from a Reddit page if I have to, right? After that, then when I see it growing, then I might invest in something that's like a small SaaS community software that's easy off the blocks, easy to purchase. Only later, when I'm starting to get some real friction and when I'm starting to see either a high rate of adoption or a high rate of engagement amongst the people that have adopted it, that's when I start like advocating for investing more into it, specifically in terms of creating your own platform. Of course, leveraging creators and influencers is a completely different thing. That's always valuable, especially at this time in the market.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I think you got it. So Avi, you may have kind of gotten at my next question. So obviously, nobody expects somebody to provide a product or service for free if it's adding a lot of value. There's got to be an ROI to all this, right? So outside of, it's like step outside of the tool for a minute, outside of LTK, outside of Social.Plus. Brands are doing this for a reason. They're not doing it for community service. They're doing it for philanthropy. They might do other things for philanthropy, but what outside of your tool, how do brands even look at initiatives like this and ensure they produce an ROI?
I mean, I talk to brands every single day on this exact topic. At LTK, we call it the halo effect. So if one creator is talking about you, all of a sudden they're watching each other. They want to know who others are talking about. All of a sudden there's 5, then there's 10, then it starts compounding. And it truly is to reach an audience. I think the ROI, if you think of every single thing you see in a day as market share in your head, that's what you're fighting for. And so you're fighting for that market share. And when you grow in that market share size, you're going to grow in the return on investment. And at LTK, best practices of measuring that return on investment would be total program. So if you put in 50K on the campaign, say you get 70K back from the campaign, but your whole program might be sitting at 100K. So actually that return on investment is so far bigger than just that one-to-one measurement. So that's, I guess, would be my commentary on it.
I would just also like double down on the fact that attribution measurement is a thing that LTK really excels at. And so by being able to connect our creator content directly to sales checkout events that are occurring on your e-com website, we're able to create a clear line of sight between what post is driving what type of activity, what creator is driving what kind of activity, what item was resonating with their audience that's leading to these sales. And so being able to tell that story really helps sell that ROI to say, not only did we drive 100K in program return or a 2 or 3X, but a lot of that was driven because we were running this Dyson hairdryer. And 20% of it is because creators drove, 1,250 sales to this hairdryer. And so I think it's really interesting, not just looking at the big picture, but starting to unpack with the data, what are those leading sources? And as you're justifying things up to your management, that really helps tell a story that somebody can grok and say, oh, this post went viral and her community hopped on it. And then I can see these 8 other creators had a halo effect moment and continued to drive sales on that product.
Can you also track the benefit of that enhanced social engagement, maybe on a retailer's app, with people who don't buy direct at that point and go to a wholesale channel?
So depending on how the integration is set up, yes. And that does depend on how we are sharing data, whether that's server side or cookie based. And so in the case of cookies, because of privacy laws, that's become more difficult. But partners that manage to maintain a server side integration, we're able to connect some of those dots to understand, oh, actually this proceeded to have a conversion 21 days after the initial interaction. Great question.
How about your perspective? I'm actually right into the question. Such a great question. Maybe I could do a whole keynote on just the attribution of halo effects.
I was like, before I forget my question from earlier, one of the things that you guys showed, I think it was on the LTK slides, you were talking about how in retail media networks, creators is adding up, and I did also notice that increased sales kind of went down over the year, which I know that's survey data. Do you think that's so? One of the things that is going on in my mind is like, are retailers trying to find out a better connection for a closed loop in order to be able to understand like the real impact of a creator on it, since that's typically how they're thinking about the retail media network. That's their only true closed loop.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I can take that one. So in the case of some of these retail media networks, and I can only speak to like our technology, and he'll give you the more techie answer. I'll give you the marketing side of it. Because we can measure essentially for a lot of these retailers at the SKU level, we leave it up to them how they want to close the loop, if you will, with their different vendors or partners of choice. And a lot of it's based on, if they have joint business plans in place. But I think the beauty of something like working with creators in a company that can give you a full funnel measurement solution, it's essentially closing the loop if that SKU tracking is in place. And so that's how very often, though, we see when we work on certain SKU campaigns, we say, okay, give us the priority SKUs and then give us the rest of them. Because we 9 times out of 10, probably closer to 10 times out of 10, see like a lift in just overall performance. And then we also, I think a big thing with retailers is the app to app. So of course, like loyalty becomes a bigger factor, what's going on seasonality at the time. So there's a lot of different like factors at play to close the loop.
And then the other side of that, I would say, is that because LTK is a 3-sided marketplace with consumers as well, with our 40 million consumers monthly, we get a lot of really interesting data to enrich and hydrate on who is coming and interacting with your content and helping provide more information about why that SKU, what region, or we could get into all kinds of demographic data, but point being that we get a really unique purview because of that first party data. And that's, I think, some of the value that Social.Plus also provides, is by having closer access to first party data when you're trying to measure a full funnel like that, you can better understand the leading causes to incrementality.
Yeah, how about, so if I could just jump in, am I loud enough?
Yeah, jump in. Yeah, you're.
So easy-ish to do on app to app and within a digital experience, right? But what about an in-store visit? How are you stitching together that full picture?
That's a great question. And yeah, no. And so in an in-store experience, a lot of the time we will need something that will actually connect to like whatever their digital consumer ID. And so like we do have connections with, I can't say the brand name, but they start with a W, where we're able to connect certain like pickup orders and delivery orders that occur because of that digital connection to their Plus subscription. And so it requires there to connect on that in-store experience. There's a requirement of a loyalty program that exists. Otherwise, if somebody comes in and pays in cash and has their phone and their Wi-Fi network off, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like they barely exist on the system.
Facial break.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got the mask on. I got nothing.
I was.
Yeah. If you come up with the technology, feel free to pitch it to us.
I've done creative, like out of the box things with brands too. So coupon codes, loyalty system links. There, and I mean, if someone could like very easily solve this, that they'd be very, very rich. But there is one campaign we did. We sold half of the jeans that we reported on from this campaign. It was literally just a jean campaign. Most people would like to try on jeans, so we did an in-store moment around it, and we connected codes to each creator, and half of the sales came just from those codes. And they had a really sleek in-store system. But we've worked with a ton of brands to kind of connect it. But yeah, it's still piecemealed together based on what the brand's technology is. Yep.
Any other questions? I'll follow that up. So number one, mixed media modeling is the traditionally the way you go about this. Still not exact science. Can be very expensive. Google may have something to say about that here momentarily. My next question is, before we wrap this up here in a minute, all this stuff you guys are talking about, selling product and moving inventory and engaging would-be customers, like what's in it for just if you step out for a minute and kind of look at it from the consumer's perspective, what trends are going on out there and the consumer, from the consumer's perspective, and what's in it for them with all of this stuff?
Yeah, I think I can kick it off. Look, I think a couple of the points are very obvious, right? 95% of people like to get a recommendation from someone else or consult someone else before they make a purchase. 95% of Gen Z is now on social commerce and shopping on TikTok and all of these sort of places, right? I think it's a natural part of the progression of the evolution of end users themselves, how they function, how they view products, how they want to buy products, how they want to interact with brands in general. It goes back to the point of authenticity as well, right? Not only do they want authenticity from their creators, they want authenticity from their brands, and they want their brands to feel like real brands that they can connect to, that they can rely on, etc. So for a lot of them, it just ends up being that, right? The ability to have this fit into your existing technological advancement as you are doing. Two, the ability to actually develop a connection here, whether it's between a brand or other people, etc. And then three is really just their ability to form a group. If you look out there right now, there's a lot of, whether it's a digital app or a normal business, the market is oversaturated with people who have the same use case, the same business, the same idea. What is it that makes you unique? What is it that sets you apart? At the end of the day, if you're bringing the right group of people and giving them the right value proposition and focusing on your users as you implement these things, getting the feedback from them and iterating as you need to address what they see as the value here, that's when you're really creating and solidifying that group of users around your product. After that, you can keep acquiring users, losing users, But as long as you have a core group of loyal users that are consistently helping you and keeping your revenue going, that's all you really need.
I was going to say the other thing here is that with the rise of, I'm going to break spades, but the rise of AI.
It's like no one's talked about AI.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
This is-
exactly.
this is
But
the
but
perfect-
creator content is sitting adjacent to AI, and with that trend happening, I don't know about y'all, but my feed is not 50% AI, but at least 30% AI at this point, and so I'm looking for real authenticity. I'm looking for genuine creator connection where if I'm actually in a exploration mode, if it's AI, I'm just being sold. And so like I would prefer to actually hear someone's real recommendations. There's no way that I don't know that that AI isn't just purely scripted from the brand. And back to Ali's point about like what we've seen previously, that doesn't work with creator campaigns when it's all scripted by the brand because you lose the value that you're getting of getting that recommendation from someone you respect. It becomes an advertisement in that moment. And so that's, I think, part of the value to the consumer. The other part of the value to the consumer here is in inspiration to new lifestyle paths. And that's why lifestyle creators, I think, bubble to the top consistently when you talk about sales and ROI, because those communities are so engaged with emulating aspects of that person's life that if you can get a hook into those communities, there's just such an opportunity to not just create a buyer, but an evangelist.
Yep. We couldn't get through it without AI, but yeah, trust. I'd summarize it's trust is a brand's currency, and as someone within your brand's community, you should always be having that be your North Star, and then performance will follow. And I've seen it with every brand.
Well, I got to ask then about the Walmart announcement with ChatGPT yesterday. Were you all part of that? What's your opinion of it? Is that the harbinger of what's coming?
I mean, we personally, and CJ could talk a ton about AI and how we use it. AI is ingrained into everything that everyone does now. It's ingrained into our business and how we function. But the real value is in the community. And so that's going to be where brands really win in this age of AI. It's working with the tactics, still having AI, like we can't escape it.
But what I would say is that announcement is just further inroads that we are in the search 2.0 battle. And so like that is, Google should feel very threatened by that announcement in Google Shopping, because integrating that, because in the moment when you're saying buy me an X, you don't need a creator to help you buy that you've already made your decision.
It's so low down,
Yeah, you're already at the bottom of the funnel. And so we don't feel threatened by that. I'm excited to see what happens and changes in that world and the continued use cases that ChatGPT brings up. But I think there is a really, for people that focus on SEO, they should like take that as a warning shot across the bow.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think it's a huge evolution when it comes to AI on this front, right? And SEO is definitely going to be challenged. Google is definitely going to be challenged. I think if you look at it from the perspective of like, look, currently now you can list your products on ChatGPT. People can buy it directly from ChatGPT. Now you can start to integrate apps directly in it, whether it's your Booking.com or Spotify or this or that, right? So it's more just they're shaping the new landscape or the place where we do all of this stuff, not necessarily what we're doing. So it's a matter of how we change to address it as well, right? Like, how do we best integrate with ChatGPT and create a direct integration where when someone is looking for a product, it should surface my creators' videos, right, first as recommendations for them to see. So it's really just, it's an interesting step that they're taking right now. That's just something they have to do with the evolving landscape. It's more of how do we evolve with it as they move along.
So good. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, creator content sitting adjacent to AI. That's what I always say. Actually, CJ said it.
I think Amber said it, our founder, and I just stole it from her Bloomberg interview.
Yeah, great
That's the way to
witticism.
do
Love
it.
it. We're a little bit over in time, so hope this is quality content for everybody. I'm just super curious. Is there any like major question, like any other like elephant in the room that we haven't asked that you feel like should have asked? You would have regretted not sharing with the group if I didn't ask it. It's the toughest question you've gotten all day.
Question.
Must have done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much most of the
All
bases
right.
on a high level. I can always
Yeah.
dive in deeper, but happy to
Yeah.
do that with anyone that needs to.
Yeah, I mean, me and Ellie are happy to give another TED Talk.
Yeah.
Maybe the whiskey tasting.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, well, you guys are invited. Thank you so much. You earned your whiskey tasting in November. Thank you. And hopefully we can invite you back to maybe go a little bit more into the weeds with some sort of like online demo or something in the future. We can get that scheduled and get our Retail Executive Association members on board with that. So thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. A round of applause. All right, good. So just real quick before we close, that was a lot of fun. Hope everybody took something away from that. Just a reminder, another shameless reminder that next month we're doing retailtainment with Katie Crenshaw from Still Austin Whiskey. There's a QR code there for you to go register at the moment. And also just a reminder, if you become an actual season member, it is now a rolling 12 months. So we'll continue to announce new events and different networking and education opportunities throughout the year. If you join as a member, it's essentially the cost of just a couple events. So I hope you join us along with that. And so it should be a good time. And let's see here. Yeah, this is a snapshot of the calendar coming up, which you can see if you go to our website. And then before you leave, just another couple of quick things. The QR code on the right. Would love any feedback from you. If you've got any feedback from us, we'd welcome all of it. Just so we can continue providing great content of quality that you find of value. And then also a list of upcoming events. And then we'll also send out an email to the people who attended tonight with access to the report that you guys share with us today, which, if I remember correctly, you guys offered a brand profile. Is that what I'm calling it? Yep. A brand profile. So thank you as a free gift to all of our Retail Executive Association members. So feel free to take them up on that. But appreciate everybody attending tonight. Thank you so much. Good to see you next month. Did I mention there was a whiskey tasting?
Pleasure. Day after tomorrow.
Oh gosh.